Financial support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by the Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.
Coming up today on Issues in Education, from the battlefield to the classroom. They've been successful in the military. Now U.S. veterans are succeeding on college campuses. Welcome to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith alongside my co-host, Florida State University President Dr. Eric Barron. FSU has a long-standing history of welcoming military veterans to its campus, but a few years ago, Florida State began a campaign to turn it into the friendliest and most empowering university in the nation for veterans. Now, in a very short period of time, the FSU Veterans Center is going strong. To tell us the latest on the program, we're joined by retired Colonel Billy Francis, director of FSU's Veterans Center, and Ryan Taylor, a student veteran who has served in Iraq and is currently president of the Collegiate Veterans Association. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
So both of you served in the military. Can you give us a little sense of your history? Ryan, how about you first?
I was a United States Marine from 2005 until 2009, and I went to Fallujah, Iraq in 2006, and Helmand Province, Afghanistan in 2008. Came home and began my journey towards medical school here at Florida State University.
And I graduated from Florida State in '86. And then commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Air Force and spent about 14 of my 26 years flying airplanes. And in my last assignment, got to come back to Florida State as the Air Force RTC commander and then transition from there into being the director of the Student Veterans Center.
What made you want to become the part of the Veterans Center?
Well, I love to help people achieve their goals. You know, so often they say, find your passion, and for many years I wrestled with that. And later in life, I realized that what I really like to do was help people achieve their goals. And then working a lot in my career as an instructor pilot and then an ROTC instructor with college students, it became apparent that watching college students get through college, mature, learn their trade or their career, and then go out and get jobs was very satisfying and rewarding. And so that was an obvious choice or selection for me to desire to do that.
So Ryan, we see where you're going, but why FSU? Why did you start here?
That's a really easy question to answer for me because I grew up in Tallahassee. So I've always been a huge fan of the football team. I've always loved the university. My grandfather went here. I've graduated from Florida State University High School. So I
we
really
went to the same high school.
Right.
I just left before he was born. Yeah.
So I've bled garnet and gold since I was a kid. And there was really no question. You're sitting in 130-degree heat in Afghanistan contemplating whether or not you're going to re-enlist. And when you've got a place like Florida State in your backyard, it's a really easy question to answer.
And how did you connect with the Veterans Center?
I met the previous president of the Collegiate Veterans Association, Phil Lennon. I had known him before I came to Florida State, and he made sure that the second I got on campus that I was linked up with everybody, and that really just took off from there. Met Billy, and the rest is history.
How many veterans are on campus now, and is that number growing?
351, and we've seen that number fluctuate between 335 and about 380. The highest numbers at Florida State were in the early 2000s, and then what we saw was as our local Guard and Reserve units got engaged in the effort overseas, our numbers dropped off a little bit. But as we continue our efforts, we're looking to see those numbers increase.
And give us a sense of what it's like to transition from the military to the university. I mean, I think a lot of people might say, well, why should there be this separate entity? So what are the significant issues that makes having a Veterans Center important?
There is a lot, I believe, as a student veteran, of unique issues to that transition from battlefield or just from military service. It's hard to really name a top 2 or 3. There's a varied group of people. Well, the entire time that I spent in the Marine Corps, it could have been, when I was looking around at my platoon, it could have been a cross-section of any classroom in America. So, you know, to really take one set of issues and say this is that issue, or these are that sets of issues that they deal with is difficult. But there are a couple hallmark ones, and the main one in particular being, in my belief, there's such a difference in, I don't want to say age or maturity, but just experience. 4 years spent in the military sometimes can feel like it can equate to 7 or 8 just because of the level of things that you deal with. And having a group of people around you that you can relate to that experience with, it means the world. But also having that same group of people that is also going through working with the Veterans Affairs and the medical side that you may be dealing with, or working with the GI Bill, seeing how they're working through their issues and if they've had the same issues you have. That's the real benefit to having the Veterans Center here at Florida State.
You've basically got a very small percentage of the population that comes back and they hit campus, and who served. And as they walk around campus, it's hard to tell. Whereas World War II, if you came back and were using a GI Bill, most of the other people that looked like you had served, and so you had a lot in common. So you're older, you don't know who else has served, who you have that common experience with, and then oftentimes I think too, you're facing 3 bureaucracies sometimes. You're facing the university bureaucracy, you're facing the GI Bill educational benefit bureaucracy, and in some cases the VA medical bureaucracy. And when we're faced with a lot of choices all at once, typically what any person will do is back away. And so to link up with people who've been there and have done that, and then can say, hey, let's order this. These are the things you need to worry about now. Don't worry about this stuff until later. And here are folks that have done this and are doing it right now, and partnering with them breaks that down and orders it and prioritizes it for them.
Do veterans on other campuses, sort of see the same thing no matter what campus they go to? They have these same kind of issues, or is this something that...
It's what, when you read the research, it are those things like Ryan called the hallmark issues. We see this nationwide. Another thing I think that's inherent in this some is that you have a degree that takes years. And in the military, you're in an environment where a lot of times you get to see accomplishment or achievement inside an hour, sometimes a day. You can look back and see, this is what we did. And now things may not happen for 2 years or 3 years, and that's just a different perspective to move into out of being a very achievement-oriented organization relative to achieving a degree.
2 years ago we set about being the most veteran-friendly university in the nation. Is this, and I shouldn't ask it this way, is this some president just going off the deep end with, what sounds like a really great sound bite, or can you achieve such a thing? What does it mean to be veteran-friendly from your viewpoint?
I think it's really interesting that you put it that way, because that's one of the things that I think separates Florida State from so many other universities, in that this isn't the administration or somebody that's not a veteran in some office somewhere deciding that these are the things that we're going to do for student veterans that are going to help them. This is the people who make the decisions at Florida State listening to the people with the issues and the student veterans. So when you look at the mechanisms for change and how it's progressing, it's very student-oriented. And I think that's key for success with any issue, but in particular, it's paramount when you're dealing with the issues of transition from battlefield to college.
What kind of things are veterans asking for? Because you are, like you said, you're very much talking to the students. What are they telling you that they want?
Well, in our first consortium that we had a 1.5 years ago, where we combined experts from the community, faculty and staff with student veterans, in order to identify actionable items that are most pressing for student veterans in college, the things that they came up with were establish a one-stop shop for student veterans. So that bureaucracy or needs, we know where to go to one person that can then get us in touch with the resources we need to achieve our goals, was one of the things they came up with. They also wanted to have an orientation that student veterans ran, and so we are doing that. Other things that have come up are a class for student veterans to help with that. So we teach a class, and for first semester undergraduate veterans, we bring all the veterans into one classroom, and they get to know each other, and we walk around campus together and just see what a great environment, family environment that Florida State is. I say it's not the shoes that make the basketball player or the bat that makes the hitter, it's the player. And so at FSU, it's the student body. And what you're seeing now here in terms of veteran friendly is the combination of leadership, faculty and staff, an unbelievably engaged student body, and veterans that want to be leaders and engaged. And what's so amazing about this is we're not trying to keep it FSU. I mean, we're pushing this out because this impacts veterans nationally. This isn't just about Ryan and the veterans at Florida State, although I do, care very much for them, obviously. But this all goes nationally. And anybody that wants to use anything we have, we've sent that out. And so I get a sense when they are calling me Billy, that they sense how much we care. And at the end of the day, that's what the focus of this is. It's the individual student veteran, caring for them, knowing them, and then helping them achieve their goals.
So, those are a lot of specific things that help you navigate a university environment and do it well, and realize that you have people that are very interested in you doing it well. But I'm also amazed that, as we have had this student leadership, I go, okay, boy, they did this, this, and this. What can anybody do next? What can the next president do? But yet, I'm always amazed about the number of things that occur that are community building. Maybe you just give a few examples of run down a list of things that happen to promote community.
There's so many things that we do, because I have taken on a personal approach in this organization that community building is a key cornerstone. And having that community is one of the resources that makes a student veteran succeed at Florida State. So you're talking about student veteran orientation right off the bat, I think was the biggest difference maker. The Student Veteran Film Fest is our our keynote event every year, and it really, I've come to believe, and I may be a little bit biased, but I don't think a whole lot of people are going to argue with me when I say it's the premier student veteran event in the country. It really is just absolutely amazing tonight that accomplishes so much. Last year we tackled issues of sexual trauma inside the military. The year before that we tackled issues pertaining to post-traumatic stress disorder and suicide. We've got some real special things that I can't talk about lined up for this year. Last spring we had our inaugural Student Veteran Seminole Ball, which was absolutely amazing, and was a night that allowed for all of our veterans to come out in uniform and share some of their traditions with other students, other student leaders, and administrators and faculty from around the university to come and see a little bit of our culture so that we could share it with them. That community that you create through intramural sports and general body meetings, and it really turns you into a family. And it's a lot harder to cut bait and walk out of university because it's too hard and you can't do it anymore if you're leaving behind family. If you were never connected to anybody there and you're just putting your nose to the grindstone and leaving, and all of a sudden you decide one day you can't do it anymore because you're having family issues, because you're not getting good grades and you just decide to leave, it's a lot easier if there's no one there that you've made that connection with. So that's the whole point of the CVA to me.
To welcome them home, and not just to Florida State, but to really try and create that atmosphere of family and home.
I actually said this not quite so eloquently as both of you have, but I actually said this to someone who's a Vietnam vet just a month or two ago. And he literally got up with tears in his eyes and walked out of the room because it was so different, and makes you wonder about making up some lost time there in welcoming people home.
I also would like to know is when you first decided to go to FSU, like you said, coming here was an easy decision for you. Did you think you were going to need something like the Veterans Center when you arrived here, or was this something that was a pleasant surprise when you got here?
It was definitely a pleasant surprise. I was so excited about being at Florida State, and I had gone to another institution for 2 years in order to prepare to come here, the military for 4 years. So the first day that I walked on campus, I literally remember I walked out of the parking garage, I stepped foot, and I looked at the whole campus, and I thought to myself, it took you 6 years to get here. And now it's all about the next 2. You really need to get this right. And all of a sudden there was maybe a little bit more pressure on me than the average student feels, because I I had worked all this time to get myself here, and if I didn't maximize on it, then I was just going to be letting myself down, and I was going to be wasting a lot of time and effort. And having this group here, even though I didn't think that I was ever going to need it, having a group of people to confide in, a group of people who may feel very similarly that I did at that point, it's really meant a lot, and I believe has made a tremendous difference in the attachment that I feel to this university and my desire to serve it and to just continue to want to give back and to make Florida State University a better place than I found it.
And so how does this begin? Do you wait for a student to come to you, or are we gotten to the point where we're very proactive?
Well, one of the things we try and do, and Ryan and the other veterans will rein us in at times when we think we have great ideas. We try and make a conscious effort here to run everything, to including we're going to change our T-shirt fabric based upon inputs from the student veterans. So we're trying to run everything through them, and so we then try and get the students inbound in touch with students at Florida State before they even get here. And so Ryan and his counterparts are making phone calls and sending emails to all admitted veterans. We are reaching out via our social media presence and opening our arms to try and get them started thinking about what they're going to do post Florida State before they even get here, and any hurdles that they may have. If we get them linked to those hurdle breakers, if you will, before they even get to Tallahassee, then those hurdles are down, and they are moving out on that path in front of them to be leaders in the nation.
I think you could probably do a fundraiser on the T-shirts. You know, my wife Molly was wearing the same T-shirt you have on at the baseball game against Indiana, and she had all these people going, "Where did you get that? That's a really great T-shirt. Can I buy one of those someplace?" I think you got a marketing opportunity for.
We're going to be selling some tank
friends
tops here in a couple weeks, so.
When the word of this is spreading to a lot of different groups, are you hearing from veterans organizations or from actual units about incoming people who are going to be leaving the military soon and going to school? Are they contacting you to find out more about the program?
Certainly. We've done a lot of work with the Veterans of Foreign Wars, which is one of the largest and most respected veteran service organizations in the nation. And they're a very unique group, and they have lobbyists, and we've accompanied them on trips and kind of joined efforts together. As a matter of fact, they were one of the groups that in 2008 really lobbied for the passage of the new post 9/11 GI Bill. So that was really amazing to work with them and to continue to work with them and to create that partnership. And beyond that, the actual military units, Billy mentioned earlier taking phone calls and me talking to incoming student veterans. And one of the neatest experiences I've ever had is talking to a currently actively deployed Marine who is standing in a opium poppy field in the middle of Afghanistan on a satellite phone talking to me. And he says, you'll never guess where I'm standing right now. And I'm like, man, I've been there, and I'm telling you, you're where you're at now, and I'm here at Florida State, and the bridge isn't that long. And, it's a few short steps. So we are getting those phone calls, and we are making those partnerships, and their impactfulness can't be overstated.
So, one other really exciting development is the legislature passed and the governor signed a budget that provides a permanent budget for the Veterans Center. Big deal?
Big deal. We like to say, let's do things and not time, or actions and not words. And to see them put this money towards this effort is just that. And so we'll spend that money on staff and programming to transition our veterans, retain them, graduate them, and then get them jobs.
Thank you very much for being here today. We've been talking with the FSU Veterans Center. When we come back, Dr. Barron and I will talk one-on-one about more issues in education.
A spirit roams these parts. A spirit of respect, competition, and academic greatness. Some call our spirit myth. Others call it legend. We call it Florida State University.
Welcome back to Issues in Education. I'm Suzanne Smith, talking with Dr. Eric Barron, president of Florida State University. Dr. Barron, we've been talking about the Veterans Center at FSU. How did you get involved with this idea?
Well, it was really two vets who made an appointment to see me who said, we have a problem and we know the solution. And it launched a whole group of university-wide efforts to understand the problem as they stated it and to work on solution. And we really came to the conclusion that there are two elements. One element is the fact that you don't have a sense of community, because someone who's come back from Iraq or Afghanistan is not particularly interested in living in a residence hall with 18-year-olds when they're 26 or 27. So they didn't build that sense of community. And the second is that the university environment is so different from the military. And even that gap from high school makes the whole process feel very foreign. And so our objective was to tackle those two problems. And as you just heard, this is a spectacular success story.
Well, why is it so important to you that that FSU becomes so veteran-friendly? Why is that important for you? Okay,
well, I think you could take it from two different directions. One direction is that I constantly brag that I don't care what you look like, what your background is like, what your ethnicity is like. You will graduate at the very same high rate at this university as anybody else. Everybody here deserves to be here and to be successful. And so it sort of irksome that veterans lag behind because, this is Florida State. Our students are family. We're going to make sure that they're successful. And so that doesn't fit with the Florida State mode of having everybody be successful. That's one. And second of all, they've served our nation. They've given up a portion of their life and committed it to service for this nation and for our security. And they need to be recognized for that. It makes it all the more tragic if they're not successful.
Recently, the state has decided to give money to the Veterans Center. How big of an impact do you see this having?
Okay, from my viewpoint, it's huge because in all these years of budget cuts, and remember we started the veterans activities about 2 years ago, everything's done on a shoestring, and everything literally is done with money that's not permanent. And that means I'm going to make a bet that we'll eventually get some funds, and we're going to use a little carry forward, some position we didn't fill for a year, and we're going to, purchase an advisor for vets with this money. Well, that doesn't give you the sense of a lasting impact that says we're struggling to staff and to do all these different activities. So to be able to know that this one was so successful that it got the attention of the legislature and the governor, and with so much to be proud of, and now it's permanent. We will always be doing this for students who have served their country or who have parents that have served this country.
The Board of Governors officially designated FSU as a preeminent university in June. What are the steps you're taking right now under that designation, and what will students see or notice the first?
Yeah, well, probably the first thing is I promised all my staff that I would dance down College Avenue if the preeminence bill passed.
And when is that taking place?
So I've been very hesitant to share the exact timing of this particular event because I'm just not sure what it would look like on film or someone's camera. So I'm being a little bit careful. That's the first step. The second step is really we're following a very deliberate path, a set of investments that will help move the university into the top 25 of all publics. We're at 42. What is most remarkable is that every single academic measure, quality of our faculty, selectivity, the characteristics of our students, we're already top 30. It's really a lot of the financial measures and a lot of the metrics that are affected by finances, how many faculty you have, so for the size of classrooms and the ratio between students and faculty, salaries, those are the things we lag behind. And yet we know that Students who graduate from top-ranked universities make better salaries. They have more opportunities for jobs. And you can sort of imagine, you're an employer, and you go, oh, Florida State, great school. You had to be good to get into it, and look how successful you've been. You're somebody I want to hire. So that's where Florida State needs to be, because our students deserve it.
June also brought the announcement that FSU is going to look for a new athletics director, and that process is ongoing now. So explain how that process works.
Well, we have a search firm, and of course this is to enable people who might be hesitant about putting their name in the hat because they're committed to an institution. They can explore a little bit the interest of the institution. We have a small screening committee that spans boosters and alumni and staff to look at candidates and provide their advice. I'm not particularly keen on making such decisions on my own. I really do think there's wisdom by having the input from a lot of different people. We will now narrow this down to a smaller set of people and do interviews and pick an athletic director, and I suspect the whole process will move very quickly.
Thank you, President Barron. That's our time for now. Please join us again next month for more Issues in Education. You can watch the premiere episode of Issues in Education the first Friday of every month at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. That means you can see the next new episode on Friday, August 2nd on WFSU-TV. We hope you'll join us as we discuss the latest developments in higher education happening around the state and across the country. If you have questions that you would like us to address on this program, you can email us at issues@wfsu.org. Again, that's issues@wfsu.org. If you would like to see past episodes from Issues in Education, head to the President's website at president.fsu.edu. I'm Suzanne Smith with Florida State University President Dr. Eric Barron for Issues in Education. We'll see you next time.
Financial support for the production of Issues in Education is provided by the Florida State University License Plate. Your FSU license plate supports scholarships for students who enrich and contribute to our communities. Special programs, gift certificates, and rebates for first-time buyers online at fsu.edu/mytag.